What up, all my fight fans? So, there's rumor around the campfire that Canelo Alvarez is in talks with Terence Crawford for a possible rematch next year. I already been hearing from a lot of the other outlets, hearing from the other podcasters and the journalists saying they're not too big on this fight. And I understand why. I understand to a certain extent that a lot of people felt like Canelo Alvarez just completely lost, completely got annihilated, but that's not true. In my personal opinion, he did not get completely annihilated. The fight wasn't a one-sided fight. It was a fight where the better person did win, and it was a clear decision win, but it wasn't as if Canelo Alvarez was never in the fight. Canelo Alvarez was in the fight. If he ended up turning up the fight, if he ended up turning up the rounds and whatnot, he very well could have won the fight eventually, or not eventually, but in time. But at this very moment, when the fight did take place, or not this very moment, excuse me, but when the fight did take place, you know, it was Crawford. It was Crawford. It was all Crawford. Crawford was able to get the better of Canelo Alvarez. Crawford was able to pick apart Canelo Alvarez, but Canelo Alvarez just took way too long to get started. Canelo Alvarez just, you know, he was just slower, and Canelo Alvarez pretty much has been doing this little just pure boxing, you know, one or two punches, very, very limited combinations, and it just wasn't enough to beat Terence Crawford that night. So with that being said, is a rematch a good idea? Well, for Canelo Alvarez, I say in a sense, yeah. Like, what do you really have to lose? You are one of the best in the world. You are one of the best to ever do it as far as Mexican fighters. You know, you are taking chances. Yes, it still is Terence Crawford, who is way better in boxing and upper class, but he is still smaller. He is no David Benavidez. He is no Dimitri Bivol. There really is not much of a risk of him getting knocked out. So if you think about it, out of all the other opponents that he could possibly face, why not go against Terence Crawford? With that being said, Terence Crawford, on the other hand, you know, Terence, he spent his whole life working his way to get to where he's at now. He spent his whole life, his whole career, trying his best to be the best and get people to fight him. And it was just been very, very hard and very difficult for him to get those fights. And he finally got those fights with the fight over Errol Spence, and then the fight with Canelo Alvarez. And now it's his time to make those big paydays, those big paychecks. And that's something that, you know, Terence Crawford definitely deserves. So with him getting this rematch, all the terms are on his side. He is now basically the A side. He's the one that could dictate what he wants. Instead of making that $10-20 million that he rumored got, he could make $50 to $100 million in this fight. And then he could walk off and be like, that's it, I'm done. There really is no reason to fight, because honestly, even if he did it now, outside of just making really excessive amount of money, there really is nothing for him to do at this moment within the boxing community, unless he wants to try to become another division champion in the middleweight division. So I don't know, but this really works. This really works. There really is nobody for Canelo Alvarez to really face outside of Terence Crawford or David Benavidez. Maybe there's a few other fights he could take if he wants to, but there's nothing too much on that either, unless he moves up to light heavyweight, where again, David Benavidez, Dimitri Bivol, Artur Beterbiev. But again, those are all where risks that he's gonna take where he could possibly get hurt. And I really don't see Canelo Alvarez wanting to do that. So do I want to see the fight? Sure. I'm a big Canelo Alvarez fan. I'm a big Terence Crawford fan. And will I watch it? 100%. Yes. 100% yes, because it was a very skilled, very good boxing match. It wasn't boring. It wasn't, again, annihilation. It wasn't a clear cut, or not clear cut. It wasn't just a complete domination for Terence Crawford over Canelo Alvarez. It was still very exciting. And I believe if Canelo Alvarez, maybe this woke him up. Maybe this says, hey, you know what? I need to change the style. It was working for those younger guys. It was working for those less dangerous guys. But Terence Crawford maybe got underestimated by Canelo Alvarez, decides that, hey, I need to turn up the heat. I need to start throwing more combinations. I need to start taking better risks. I need to show him that I'm bigger, that I'm stronger, that I am better. And maybe this is his chance to do so. If not, we'll see when it happens. Guys, like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.